Hi yogis. So I wanted to do a yin practice that kind of works us up to the yin pose called shoelace. And in our yang style practice, this pose is called Gomukhasana or cow face pose. So it is a really beautiful but deep hip opener. But we can also start to maybe release a little bit into the low spine also. So I've got a couple of blocks. I've got a couple of blocks. I think those will be very helpful tools for this practice. If you want to use a blanket, you're welcome to. I'm not going to be instructing with one today, but I definitely think having these blocks will be really, really helpful. So if you need to pause your video and go grab the blocks, go ahead and do that. And then we're going to meet on our mat. So the way we'll start is just go ahead and stretch out your legs. Let's lean back onto the hands. And just wiggle out your knees. Roll your toes in and out. And then we'll start with the legs extending out in front. What we're going to do is we're going to bend the right knee and turn the right knee out to the side. And place the right foot on the inside of the left leg. So this is taking a pose of Janu Shasana, but we're going to kind of transform it into a yin variation. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our blocks out here in front of us. You can have them at any height. And let's just take a big inhale. Go ahead and lift your spine. And as you exhale, gently fold over your left leg. And I've got my blocks propped up right underneath my arms so that I can relax the elbows and the hands. And then go ahead and relax your left leg. And we're going to let the spine start to round over the left leg. And just close your eyes. And become aware of your breath in and out of your nose. Remembering that in our yang practice, we're reaching for the foot or reaching for our strap, but in yin, we're just taking a very passive, soft variation. And at first, you may not feel like much is happening, but you'll notice that after just a few moments, you can feel that there's a drawing in. The pose is drawing you in versus you forcing yourself into a shape. We're going to hold each of these poses for about 2 minutes on each side as we work up to that shoelace variation. So we want to make sure that we're using our blocks to support our upper body so that the muscles can really begin to relax. So that might mean something different for each of us. You can use the blocks under your hands. You can even experiment with different heights of your blocks just to see what feels good. And you can even see what it's like to maybe stack up your blocks in a way that you could rest your forehead and bring your arms down. So it's totally up to you, but just find what feels good. Kind of that first edge of depth where you can just be still and hold it for a little bit of time. And then breathing deeply into the body. We want to hold the pose and be still, but if you need to make adjustments so that you can be more comfortable or even deepen the pose, then that is perfectly fine. But just notice if the movements that you're making are for more comfort so that you can be still a little longer, or if it's because you're fidgeting. So just taking note. And when you're ready, we're going to slide our hands back, press into your hands, and slowly lift your head up. We're going to lift our spine all the way up and then place your hands on your knees and just take a little counter turn to your right. Good. Let's do it on the other side. So set your blocks over. We'll bring the right knee up, stretch the leg out, and I'll slide the left heel back. Turn the knee out, place the foot on the inside of the right leg. So we're going to bring our blocks out, maybe just take that one big inhale, and now as you exhale, just enter into the pose, into your first edge. Use the blocks to support your bones so that your muscles can relax. Even relax your bottom leg, this right leg. And then relax your shoulders down from your ears. Relax your jaw and your teeth and your tongue. Of the body, a majestic mountain. Of the breath, a calm mountain lake. Of the mind, a clear blue sky. We tend to hold a lot of our past emotions and experiences in the tissues of the body, and that's really what we access in our yin practices, these layers of fascia. And so you'll notice that things may come up for you, like waves of emotion or memory. And the practice is just to remain soft and not attach or react. And if you need to slide your hands back just a little bit so that you can bend your elbows and relax your shoulder blades, feel free to make that adjustment. And slide the hands back even more. Press into your hands and begin to lift up slowly, sitting up tall in your spine. And then we'll place our hands on our knees, and the spine will just take a natural counter turn to the left. And then we'll set our blocks over to the side. Let's bring the left knee up, stretch the left leg out. And again, let's just lean back onto the hands, wiggle out the knees, roll your toes in and out. Let's go a little bit deeper. We're going to slide let's slide the right foot back. Slide your right heel back. So I like to, let's cross over the left leg. And we're going to use the hands. I've got my left hand on the foot, right hand on the knee, and this is going to keep some flexion in your ankle. And we're going to drop the right knee down and away. So now I've got like a figure four shape in my legs. My right ankle is crossing over the left thigh. And then we're going to slide that right knee all the way over on top of the left knee as much as possible. So now I'm starting to get into my half shoelace here. I'm going to take my blocks back out in front of me. And let's take another inhale, sit up nice and tall. And as you exhale, we begin to fold forward. Now our blocks are here because we might not fold forward very far, and we can just keep ourselves supported with the blocks. As you begin to go a little bit deeper into the pose, you might find that you can maybe turn the blocks up a little bit, rest your arms or your elbows. And there's always that option to just experiment and explore on resting your head. But we just don't want to go past our edge. We want to stay right at that kind of that happy place where we feel a stretch. We can feel that something is happening, but there's no force. In fact, we're actually on the spectrum of more ease, way more ease than effort. And the practice of yin is so nice because our day-to-day lives and society has kind of got us in this mode of constant acceleration, constant stimulation. And yin, it just brings a balance into our lives where we can genuinely slow down, and it helps kind of reset our nervous system. It helps us kind of filter out all of that go, go, go vibe. It helps to almost just cleanse that out so that we can anchor in the present moment with just more and more ease. And then let's go ahead and slowly begin to lift up. Nice and slow. Nice and slow. Our blocks will move over to the side. And what I like to do is use the hands to help bring the knee back up, extend that right leg back out. And again, we're just going to lean back onto the hands, wiggle out your knees, wiggle out your toes. Let's go to the other side. Let's do another half variation here. Sliding the left heel back. We're going to cross over the right leg. Then we're going to use our hands, flexion in the ankle. This protects our knee joint. Go ahead and lift the leg up, drop that left knee away from you, and just start with the left ankle on your right thigh so that our legs are in this figure four shape. And then we're going to slide the left knee over to stack on top of the right knee as much as possible. So my top ankle has got a little bit of flexion because, again, that protects our knee joint. We want the twist and the torque to come up in the hip socket and not in the knee. Go ahead and reach around, bring out your blocks, starting with whatever height of the blocks feels natural for you. And let's take a big inhale and exhale. Go ahead and just enter into the pose, into that first edge. And use the blocks in the best way for you on this side. And it might differ from side to side. And just close your eyes and find your soft, smooth breath. You might feel that you're able to breathe down into your hips. Maybe relax your shoulders just a little bit more. And stay here just a little bit longer. We're almost there. Slowly lift up. I like to bring the hands in, and this helps to lift your spine. We'll bring our blocks over to the side. Use your hands to help lift your left knee up and place the foot back. Extend, lean onto your hands, wiggle out your knees and your toes. Let's come into shoelace pose, but I'm going to show you a couple different variations and ways that will enter into this pose. Now, if you have some pretty big knee issues, I'd like for you to wait to come into this pose, and I'm going to show you a modification. Or you can do the pose, the variation that we just did, where we have the bottom leg straight and the top leg crossed over into our pose. So that is option one. However, if you want to just, like I said, just hold on just a moment, I'll show you this final modification. So I'm going to come into the deep pose first, then I'm going to show the modification. The way we come into this pose, the best way that I like to come into it is from the hands and knees. So we start from the hands and knees. I'm going to go ahead and make sure my blocks are out in front. We're going to cross the right knee all the way over the left knee. So think about how a shoelace kind of intertwines and wraps around the other. And then we want to make sure we widen out the feet. Then we bring our hips down to the ground, and we want to make sure that both hips are on the ground. If you feel like you're leaning way over or this is too deep, it's too much, then I want you to lift back up, take one of your blocks. You can see what it feels like on the flat low setting. That might be a good spot to be. I think if you were on the medium height, it just might feel a little unsteady. So I would say if the low height still feels too deep, too intense, then I want you to come out of this and wait for my modification instructions. So, I'm going to sit back on the ground, and then once you kind of get here, I like to inch the feet out a little bit away from the body so that you can draw your toes back and there's a little bit of flexion in the ankles, remembering that we want to protect the knees. Okay? So I've got my right leg on top. Now, if you are going to be doing our modified instruction, then what we'll do is we'll sit cross-legged, just an easy sitting pose, and I've got my right leg crossed in front, and then you will fold forward and use your blocks. Okay? So, for those of you who are in our shoelace pose, we've got our right leg in front, on front. Our feet are wide. We're either on the ground or on our block. Flexion is in the ankles. You can decide how far you want to fold forward. So let's just take an inhale, maybe sit up tall, and as you exhale, let's just release forward, just enough to release the low spine. Now you can stay at your edge with your hands on your blocks. If you find that it's comfortable and there's no forcing, you can maybe drop down to your elbows. You can experiment with the different height of the blocks so that you feel supported. You can even see what it's like to explore folding forward and resting your forehead on the blocks. So at any point you feel like it's just too deep, it's too intense, I want you to back off the pose. And if you come all the way up and maybe you're sitting on your block and it still feels just too deep, I want you to come out of it and I want you to sit in that cross-legged pose with your right leg in front and fold forward. And you will still feel a wonderful stretch in the hips and the low back. So we find our edge. We resolve to be still. And then we just give it a little bit of time. And we don't want to rush. It is recommended in Yin Yoga that we hold poses for at least 1 minute. But if you're able to ride through those waves, those urges to release the pose, there is a beautiful release deep in the body if you can maybe hold it 2 or even 3 or maybe 4 minutes. We want to find that sweet spot for our head. So we don't want to be lifting the head up and compressing in these upper spine. We don't want to drop the head down so far that we can't breathe because our throat feels too constricted. We want to find that perfect place for the head to lay. Shoulders are soft. Again, making sure your jaw is relaxed and your tongue. And all the muscles in your face are soft. We'll bring our hands back slowly. Come up. Let's just move our blocks over to this side. The way that I like to come out of this is to lean back and unravel the legs. So both variations. So if you're on your block, just come off of your block. Lean back, stretch out your legs. Wiggle out the knees, roll the toes in and out. Okay, good. Let's do it on the other side. So we start from the hands and knees. Again, we bring our blocks out in front so they're ready to support us. This time we're going to bring the left knee and cross over the right knee. Widen out the feet. Slowly walk your hands back and release your hips down to the ground or onto your block. You can always take that half variation where the bottom leg is straight, or come into a comfortable cross-legged position with your left leg in front. Little bit of flexion in the ankles. Make sure that both sitting bones are on the ground, especially if your hips are on the ground or your block. When we take a big inhale, sit up tall. And exhale, just feel the pose bring you into that first perfect edge. And we don't want to have the hands way reaching out because this always keeps action in the arms and inevitably in the shoulders and the neck. So I always keep my blocks way back nice and close because this helps just release the elbows and the shoulders. And when you ever want to go deeper, you can maybe adjust the height of your blocks to drop down onto your forearms or your elbows. Or maybe stack the blocks so that you can support your forehead. We're almost there. Let's just stay here just a little bit longer. And then slowly come up to your hands. Let's move our blocks over. If you're sitting on your block, go ahead and lean forward, come off of your block. And then we're going to unravel the legs. We're going to lean back on the hands. Wiggle out the knees, roll out your toes. Then we're going to bend the knees and we're going to bring the feet wide and we're going to drop the knees to center and start to do this windshield wiper actions. This is a really nice counter pose. So counter movement. Nice and slow. And then from here, let's just lay back for a moment. Just lay back. Let your back release, let your hips release. Just take a moment to notice how you feel. Let's take a big inhale, stretch your arms, point your toes. And as you exhale, we bring the knees into the chest. Give a little rock side to side. And then just nice and slow, we can bring our feet down. and roll over and come up. Thank you for practicing with me. Please bring your hands together in prayer and a little bow of the head. Namaste.